Have you ever looked at someone who is a corporate practitioner or a business owner and was curious about their journey, what they've experienced, their passion projects, and the practices that have helped them be successful in their work? The Formula Exchange podcast is the place where the inner genius of our guest meets your curiosity. Our podcast episodes are quick chats geared towards revealing the person behind the LinkedIn profile. You'll quickly discover and learn about their journey, what they're doing, and our guest will leave you with a formula to help you conquer your next. I'm your host, Dr. Lenny Cook.
Michelle Castelli is a wife and mother of three adult children and one adorable beagle. She is an author, speaker, and relationship coach, and she helps men and women grow stronger, healthier relationships in the areas of dating and marriage, as well as self and spiritual. Her professional background includes relationship work, counseling with individuals, couples, and families in both mental health and ministry settings. Hey there, Michelle. How are you?
Good. How are yourself? How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for spending time with us and just giving us the chance to learn a little bit more about you. Um, for our audience, can you tell us how you have begun to do what you're doing now?
Yes, for your audience, I'm a relationship coach, and my story kind of goes way back. I'll make it. It's funny. When I was a child and I was at school, my friends noticed that I tended to talk about relationships, and they came to me with questions. Even back then, it was funny. There was a show on TV at the time called Love Boat. It was kind of a celebrities went on a boat, and there was different romances that took place. So it was a popular show when I was a kid. And what happened was during study hall, when I was in junior high, my friends would come to me and say, because they knew I liked to write, and they say, "Hey, can you write a story about me being on a love boat?" And then they would pick one of the guys at school that they had a crush on. So I'd spend my study halls writing these stories about relationships, taking my friend's real name and mixing it with guys that they liked, and ended up, my whole study halls were caught up in writing relationship stories for my friends. So it started way back then.
I love it. I love it. So you must be the queen of connection then, right?
Yeah, they definitely came to me for that. It's interesting. And then it went from that to later on when we got into college, and later they came to me with questions on relationships. They liked what I was saying. And so it was just, it kind of went that direction. And then I went to school, became a licensed social worker. I was a therapist and did individual, couples, families, worked in a variety of different agencies as a therapist. Went back to school and got a theology degree on top of it because I was also interested in adding the spiritual component. So I got a theology degree and a spiritual direction certification. And then I started working in some ministry settings. And then now I'm moving into relationship coaching with my therapy work, and I love it a lot. It's great.
Awesome. So you've kind of told us what you've experienced as a young
Yeah,
lady
yeah.
exploring relationship counseling and then as a college student. Can you tell me a little bit of what you've experienced as a practitioner in the realm of relationship coaching?
Yes. What I find is that a lot of people come in wanting to know how to find the right mate for them. There's a lot of people that are searching right now. They're tired of the dating game. They're looking for serious relationships. They want to know what to look for. They want to know where they can find someone that shares the same values that they share. So there's a lot of work around that, but there's also equally work around people having commitment issues. People who thought that they wanted to get into a serious relationship, and then they're now finding that they've got different emotional blocks that are keeping them from committing. So there's a lot of work around that as well. So that's on the dating end, but I also do marital work, couples that are struggling in marriages. They want to have better communication, or they're looking for better conflict resolution and they're getting stuck on those areas. So a lot of work around dating and marriage. And then because I come from a holistic approach, I also weave in for people if they're interested in talking about their spiritual side, we'll add that in. If that's an area that they're interested in going into, we don't take a look at themselves, where they need to grow, because it's very holistic. Everything affects all of your relationships, spiritual, self, it all comes into play. So you really can't tease it apart with just one part of your life. You have to take a holistic approach.
So can you tell me something about a little bit more about what has helped you be successful as a relationship coach?
Yeah, I think because, the important thing that I have found is work as a therapist, two components that you must have. People need to trust you so that they feel safe to open up in the session. And they have to sense that you're genuine. Because without those two fundamentals, being someone they trust and someone who's genuine, you're not going to get to any other work. And that's across the board. It doesn't matter what issue someone's coming in for relationship work. If those two foundations aren't there and the person is not sensing that they can open up with you, that they can feel safe to talk about it, you're not going to get to any of the other issues. And you're just going to, you're going to be dealing with defense mechanisms the whole time. And people they'll resist change if they don't feel that they can open up to you. So it's important that that's the foundation. And that's what I've found in all of my work is as a therapist, as a relationship coach, people are checking you out to know if you're genuine and if they can trust you first off the bat.
That is very insightful. So can you tell me a little bit more what you're working on now?
Yeah, right now I have a model that I call the growth model, and it helps people go through stages because you need to start off first. Again, the letters are GROWTH, growth, and the G stands for gaining awareness of yourself and what your relationship goal is. You cannot get to any other parts until you start there, because people come in thinking that they've got awareness of who they are. And then when you start talking with them, they really have a lot of areas of themselves that they have not explored or that they're unfamiliar with, or they're coming in with a sort of a mask, the sort of persona self, but not the true self. So right off the bat, the G in growth is letting me help you to, let's tease out who you are, what your relationship goal is. And it's interesting with couples, when you work with couples, because they'll come in and if you talk about relationship goal in the beginning, they aren't always on the same page. They thought they were, but then when they start opening up in the session, one person's got a completely different goal than the other. And you can't get onto any of the work unless you're on the same page of where you're going with the goal. So that's the first step in the growth model. And then followed by that is the R, which is recognize the blocks that are preventing you from getting that goal. It's, that's what we help you work through. What are these blocks? What's getting in the way of a healthy relationship for you? And so the R is helping to recognize those blocks. And then the O is openness in removing the blocks. How open are you to really wanting to remove those blocks? Because, we're all creatures of not wanting to change. We get very comfortable in our habits, even if they're unhealthy habits. And so, having someone to kind of keep you on task to say, let's kind of go in this direction of trying out a new step for yourself that'll make it healthier. So there has to be that openness there, or else, there's not going to be any work done toward growth. The W is work the action steps. We come up with action steps together, ones that are tangible, ones that are realistic, to help you move toward what relationship goal you have stated you'd like. And then the T is the transformation, and the H is healthier relationship. And we go through these steps, and as you go through them, you might have to slow down and go back to a step if there's something blocking it. And that's okay. That's all part of the process. It's not always a linear line. Sometimes it goes in a big circle. You got to go back to a step. As new things come in, it's more things get revealed.
Michelle, can you speak a little bit about, what people tend to get wrong when it comes to relating with others?
I think one of the biggest problems is that people don't really understand the impact. If you're having stress in one relationship in your life, it carries over to all the rest of your relationships. And a lot of times you're not aware of that. If you're experiencing stress in your marriage and you go into work, a lot of people say, oh, I've got it together. I can compartmentalize. I can go into work and let it go. And they're not aware that coworkers are seeing the change in you. They see that your facial gestures are different. They see that your tone of voice has changed, they see that your work productivity has gone down. So I think that's a big misconception a lot of people have, is that, oh, it's only in this one relationship that I'm experiencing the stress. I'm fine in the others. And then you come to find out that it's impacted every single one of your relationships. Because you think about it, what we bring to our relationships is ourself. So if we're under stress or we're in pain, we're carrying that to every other relationship, and it is going to impact those relationships. So it's extremely important.
Wow, that is so powerful. Okay, so how does being able to identify unhealthy relationship patterns relate to what you do?
Yeah, unhealthy relationship patterns need to be teased out because, again, people have different definitions of what they consider healthy and unhealthy. So when I'm meeting with a client, we have to come to an understanding of how do they define healthy and unhealthy, because that's where we start. What's their definition for them of a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship? And then we look for patterns. So for example, if they come in and we take a relationship review where we'll look at the history of their relationships and where's the patterns? Were you always running into the same communication problem in multiple relationships, whether it's friend relationships, family relationships, dating relationships? Where did you keep hitting a snag? Was it that you were impatient? Was it that you jumped into relationships too quickly? Was it that you left relationships abruptly with no closure? So we look for those patterns where you keep, going over and over again that might be unhealthy. And then we start working with those. So it's recognizing those patterns based on a review of your relationship history.
Question that just kind of comes to mind is, how does understanding your own, relational patterns, how can that benefit or, assist yourself as a person, or I guess our audience as well?
Right, right. You want to start to become aware of what your own unique relationship style is, because each of us relates to people with our own unique style. And so helping you to become more aware of what's your unique style. When you get together with people, how do you interact with them? And and the more you become aware of how you interact with other people, that's when, like when we talked about spotting patterns, but not just patterns, it also helps you know more about yourself. I'm a person that relates this way when I get together with people. In these kinds of situations, I respond this way. In other situations, I tend to respond that way. It's becoming very aware of you as a relational being. Who are you as a person that relates to others?
Mm. And I guess for yourself, can you tell us a little bit of, what has been a personal bright spot in your own journey?
Yeah, my personal bright spots is when those people have aha moments and I'm working with a client where all of a sudden you can see it in the way that they respond, that they just got an insight about themselves that is going to lead to great change. It could be a block that they had. It could be a negative attitude or self-concept about themselves that they finally broke through. But just that moment when you see that enlightenment where they say, oh yes, I see it now. That's very satisfying because that's what leads to transformation, is when you have those breakthrough moments.
Okay, so you are now our residential relationship expert, right? So can you give us the formula for achieving stronger, healthier relationships, and basically just give us the steps of how we can achieve that for ourselves?
Yeah, the growth model that I just mentioned would be the steps. And what you would need to do is, first of all, you have to ask yourself if you're at a point in time where you're willing to come in and get some help. Are you willing to share with someone at this time in your life some of your issues? Because if you're not, it's not something you should be forced into. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to meet with someone to talk about these issues in a safe environment? And so it's openness and willingness is the first step. And then if you're interested, you can book a session with me. In fact, I'll be offering at the end of this a gift for you in regards to that. But it's really asking yourself, checking in with yourself, am I open to working on some issues? And if the answer is yes, then getting together with a relationship coach to go through these steps that we talked about with the growth model a few minutes ago. And we go through each of those steps of the process of that to help you go from identifying blocks to transformation.
I imagine that this is obviously, for people who may be struggling in relationships. But what about those people who, perceive that everything is just going well? Could they also benefit from a relationship coach?
Yeah, they can, because a lot of times people can be doing well in one relationship, but they're starting to sense some unease in another relationship. They don't really see it as a problem yet, but something's feeling unsettled and they're not quite sure what. So coming in and getting a chance to just talk out in general, also talking about your successes is helpful too, because it bolsters us into just reinforcing that, hey, you know what? I've got some healthy patterns going. I feel good about myself. And just reviewing that can be a big boost to keeping you on your path, because it doesn't always have to be when there's an issue or a problem. It can also be reinforcement of what you're doing right as well.
Beautiful. So you have mentioned a
Yeah.
complimentary call with you. Can you
Yes.
tell us what we could expect if we did book a call with you?
Yes. If you kind of go through my website that we'll give you in a moment, there's a complimentary 30-minute session that you can click on and takes you right to a calendar where you can book it. And then what we'll do is we'll talk with you about what you'd like to talk about with your relationship goal or what issue might be bringing. And again, it's just a general informal session, free to talk about any type of relationship issue you'd like. And then we see if there's a match, if that's something you'd like to continue with, or if you'd like to just talk for that one session. And we get an opportunity to see where you're at. It's an exploratory type session, just to see what you might be needing, wanting.
Great. And what's that website again?
Yeah, www.michelle, Michelle, and then my middle initial is M, and then my last name Castelli is CASTELLI.com, MichelleMCastelli.com.
Perfect.
I also have a podcast, Growing Your Relationships, on Spotify, on Apple, on my website. It's also, you can go to my website. All my podcast episodes are on my website. And each week we look at different relationship challenges in all those different areas, dating and marriage and self and spiritual, and tackle some of those. So if you're interested in starting off there too, you could also go and listen to some of the podcasts to get a feel for what we're doing. There's a blog there on articles on relationships at the website for you. And in another few months, we'll be developing an online program that we can, get out to you. If you get on our email list on the website, we can send you information on that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is my final question for you,
Sure,
Michelle.
sure.
Can you tell me what our audience can do to help you on your journey?
On my journey, if you know of someone, if you yourself or someone you know is interested in exploring relationship issues, give them the information that we just gave you and share it out there. That's the best way you could do it. Spread it by word of mouth, because we want to help people. We don't want people feeling alone out there, particularly with the pandemic. A lot of people are sitting there, you may be sitting isolated with a relationship issue and you don't know where to start. You don't know where to go, and be more than happy to, talk with you and help you along. That would be the best thing. Spread the word.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you very
Formula,
much.
yeah, Formula Exchange audience, to connect with Michelle, you can go to michellemcastelli.com to book a free 30-minute consultation with her. Also check out her podcast as well as her blog. And there's additional information on the Formula Exchange website as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Have a great day.